It is no secret that GameStop is having some major financial problems right now, and if the company doesn't change its culture rapidly, it is going to dissolve, which absolutely blows my mind because it seems like such a phenomenally simple concept. Sell games to gamers, which, by the way, is the absolute largest market here in the United States when it comes to entertainment. However, GameStop just hasn't seemed to figure it out. I personally have had a lot of issues with GameStop. My particular breaking point was when I tried to return a collector's edition statue that had damage to it and was told that I could not get my money back, and I was forced to get store credit just for that store. I'm not happy with anything GameStop does, but as a gamer, I think it's important to do my due diligence and to continue to talk about things that are good and bad. And this new idea, what GameStop is self-titling GameStop 2.0, just may be the thing that turns it all around. Although I believe the name GameStop in of itself needs to go. This comes from Bleeding Cool. I found out about this a few days ago from Brent, who sent me this article and said, hey, check it out. I'm going to post a link to this, all of these articles in the description below. It's by a guy named Josh Nelson. I think he did a really good job. Lots of photos, lots of write-ups, kind of explaining what's going on. So here in Orlando, GameStop has yet to do anything with their stores. When I drive by and I kind of peek in the windows, or when my wife goes to the mall on one of her shopping sprees and I'm just kind of hanging out for half an hour waiting for her to do whatever she does, I do dork around and look at the GameStops. We haven't had any changes here yet. However, there are a few GameStops, particularly up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where they are starting to change things around. And here you can see some photos of what this guy had went and saw. This includes things like new marketing and new branding. So actually the font and like the logo of GameStop has changed, and a radical layout of what the store is trying to do. You could tell by this picture here, it's definitely following what I'm going to call the iPhone store model, where it's just some products on the periphery with the wood floor. I think that's synonymous with Apple stores now. And a couple big kiosks in the center to just kind of hang out and check out products. And the reality is, Apple does have a very good brand, and I think it's difficult to draw a comparison between a GameStop and an Apple store. But the one thing I will say about an Apple store that I think really has going for it is there's absolutely no pressure to ever buy anything. And when the time comes to buy something, they just ring it up and hand it to you. GameStop, on the other hand, clearly with this, the kind of the business corporate and the philosophies that they have, definitely are trying to pinch every penny out of you. And I think you get a lot more retention from a customer if you treat them with respect and treat it as you're never going to see them again. So what this particular store did is actually this article. He's got a couple different stores that are different sizes where they try different things. I'm not going to go through line for line in this article. I'll just say that GameStop is definitely an identity crisis right now. All the GameStops and the Think Geeks have kind of merged. So you're starting to see GameStops that are populated with a lot of video games. Obviously, that would make sense. But then a lot of like pop culture things like pop vinyls and T-shirts and small collectibles that you would expect to see at something like a Spencer's or a Hot Topic or Think Geek, obviously. It's kind of a weird mix between what GameStop is trying to be in terms of a purely video game culture and a purely pop culture. The two are different. I mean, as a gamer, I can tell you that there's a lot of pop culture stuff that I could care less about. And there's a lot of really cool gaming items that aren't sold at ThinkGeek in the physical brick and mortar store that I would have to buy online elsewhere. So to me, I feel like if GameStop could actually tailor a little bit of their merchandise more with a gamer flair, that would help a lot. There are definitely a lot of weird pop culture references in there to television shows and stuff and things that gamers aren't really interested in. And again, that's very, broad statement. I mean, I don't speak for all gamers, but if you're going to make a store about games, make it about games, right? So what GameStop tried to do here and what Josh is talking about in his article, here's that new logo you can see here. What they're trying to do is to bring back that kind of like homebrew culture. Now, I think back fondly to when I was a kid, and times were different back then. It was also 20 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever. Who's counting? I remember stores like Babbage's in the mall, and that was like one of the first video game stores I ever remember. Now, it did focus on computer games, but I remember walking inside, and there was a big desk in the center. They had a Gateway PC. You remember Gateway? Gateway 2000? Those were the ones that had the box that looked like a cow. It was all like cow themed for whatever reason. They had one of those sitting in the center of the mall, like in the store. There's like a little store in the mall, and then inside that store is this one desk with this Gateway computer, and they had just rows of games on either side. And if you saw something you liked, which for me was Police Quest, the guy would install it for you, and it took a while, but a lot of times they'd call you, come back in a week or whatever, you could try it out. And if you liked it, you could, play it for a little bit. And then sometimes they'd give you a discount and you could go home and have it. That was a really cool concept. Now, I understand that times have changed and we are now in the billions and zillions of games, it seems like. I mean, just look at your favorite video game storefront, whether it's Nintendo Switch or Steam. You'll see what I mean. There's a lot of stuff that's crowding up those pages now. So that's a little bit harder to do, but the idea was it was a safe haven for people to go in and discover new things with other people who were fans, make friends. We didn't have online gaming back then, but just talking to people and kind of building a sense of community. And I think to all the stores that work here in Orlando, my friend Aaron owns a comic book store where they have a den in the back where they all sit and play board games and they read comics and stuff together. It's just an environment that you feel friendly in, and it's an environment that you can kind of let your guard down in. And you know what happens when that happens? One, you make a lot of friends, and two, you typically spend a lot of money. So GameStop is trying to get back to that. So what you're seeing here on some of these photos, particularly this one here, is they have really tried to change the culture of the store. Here, there's like a giant game session with a bunch of computers set up, monitors, and they're playing different games. They have like an announcer booth in the center. They call out games, kind of like an esports thing. There's probably promotions and tournaments and such with maybe a buy-in, maybe not. Maybe, it's like $5 and winner gets, half the pot and we're going to do Fortnite or something like that. These are things that people would definitely be interested in. And these are things I think that definitely could encourage more people to get there and stay. And then while you're there, hey, we're running a discount. Did you like that game? Well, here it is. You could buy and take it home today. And that's the kind of investment I think that GameStop needs to do to kind of win people back. And I don't want this to just turn into a LAN, like those throwaway, LAN cyber dens that you see popping up all over the place where you can rent a computer for an hour or anything like that. I think what this needs to be is a much more organic tournament-based, and not even tournament if that's too, competitive for people. We could even just have more like Let's Plays type thing. Like, hey, everybody come on in. We're going to load the new Minecraft expansion and we're all going to play it. Come over and check it out. Bring your friends. And that sort of thing. That's the kind of promotion and that's the kind of goodwill I think that GameStop needs to do. So if they stick with this kind of concept, I think it would be a really, really good idea for them. And they still do have merchandise on the stores. This really follows the Microsoft store model, something that really emulates the Apple model, at least down here, where they have a game section in the back and they run regularly scheduled tournaments where people will come in, they bring their own gear, they play. Sometimes they order pizza, it's on the house, sometimes they don't. And they do little giveaways, and you know what? People buy stuff. They buy stuff all the time. So that's actually a really, really cool idea. I like that. This particular GameStop also has snacks here with little drinks and stuff, and I get it. They're not in the business to sell you concessions. But it's that kind of environment that you could just go and like, oh, I'll just get a snack while I'm here playing games and get that controller nice and greasy for the next guy. And then they have all their different server racks here, which interesting, really interesting for a GameStop, right? This is another model that they've been kind of kicking around at yet another store. This is kind of like their virtual catalog. You kind of sit down at the couch, you open up this applet on the TV here, and you can kind of navigate through products. It's a curated online store that shows you little videos and kind of like gameplay clips and screenshots and reviews of some of the games and some of the products they have in the stores. I don't think this would work for a lot of people. Most people kind of know what they're doing when they go into a store to buy things. That said, there are times when I just feel like I got money in my pocket I need to burn, and I'll just walk into a store and kind of like putter around and see like what's going on. Like, yeah, you know, I'll buy something. I don't know how much discovery element this has. It's a neat concept. Alternatively, for the little kid who wants the hot new Madden game or the hot new Call of Duty game, his parents are going in with a mission. They're not going to sit down and like, oh, let's learn about, you know, whatever. Like, they're not going to care. So I don't really know who this particular design is for, per se. It's not something that I would think is like really cool, but I don't know. I don't own a company, so maybe they're onto something there. And then you can see they got a lot of little curated stuff. Again, the wood floors with some stands of, you know, gift cards and some Funko Pops and some collector edition things in the back. Different baseball cards, like I said, trading cards here and stuff. It's kind of interesting, which does emulate a lot of the Think Geek, and I think that's really true. So here's yet another idea. This one is almost the exact opposite. This is almost like a pure gaming den. There are computer banks, or, you know, I don't know, maybe it's consoles, I don't know, around the perimeter with those really fancy gaming chairs, and in the center there's like the council, the Justice League of Nerds, which I would love to be a part of, by the way. I'm not making fun of these people. That where they're sitting, and that's probably more for board games or for maybe Switch games. You know, you can bring your Switch and jump in and do some like local Smash. We just did that today during lunch. It was really a lot of fun. I don't see a lot of merchandise here, though, so I'm not really sure how this model is going to bring in the sales, unless they have everything kind of in the back, and you just kind of go in and maybe they transition more into board games and they say, oh, you really liked, you know, Seven Wonders? Well, here we go. We have it for you. Cool Stuff Games, I think, does this a lot better, though. So I'm not really sure what the intent of this particular format is here. But I have to say I do applaud them. I mean, this is obviously very curated Dungeons & Dragons stuff. So this is very clearly for role-playing, right? You know, to buy the new books, the, you know, Lore Master books and die and that sort of thing like that. But I got to give credit to, first of all, to Josh for putting this all together. This is great. And definitely click on those links below. Give him some traffic. Give him some love, because this is really well put together. But I do have to give GameStop themselves at least some credit for trying something different. I mean, if this totally falls flat, okay. They're kind of in a sinking ship at this point. So it's an interesting position for them to be in, because they can't really fail, because they've already failed. So it's not really like there's anything they're going to lose by doing this, but yet they have a lot to gain. I would really just say, to me, the GameStop name has to go. It's definitely tainted and marred with a lot of bad experiences, and it's unfortunately just cool to hate them. I have my own reasons, as I mentioned. I'm sure other people have a lot more horror stories than me, especially when it comes into trade-ins and that sort of thing. But I think it's time for GameStop to shed that skin and to try something new. So we'll see what happens. If one of these stores does make its way down to the Sunshine State, I will definitely go make a road trip and check it out. I would love to see what they're up to, talk to the managers there, talk to the people, and see if it's something that I could get invested in and start participating in, because I don't play much Halo anymore. But when I was really into Halo competitively, I was going to the Microsoft store just about every weekend for these tournaments. I made a lot of really cool friends, and I had a lot of fun. And I spent a lot more money at the Microsoft store that summer than I did pretty much any other time. So I'm proof that this model works. Leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on the new GameStop. Let me know if you like the format. If you don't like the format, you just want them to go and die, because that may be an option too. I don't know. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.